This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
It's the Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast for Friday, February the 4th, representing Canada in the two-person podcast, the Olympic style. Mark Philbin and Charity Brown, 95.5 Hits FM, on the kickoff of the Beijing Olympics today. Opening ceremony went about 7:30 our time. Charity, how did it look in all of its pageantry?
Pretty awesome. It was interesting. And the commentators said this too, because it wasn't that long ago that Beijing was the host to the Summer Olympic Games. And if you remember the opening ceremonies to that, it left a lot of people questioning because there was a lot of production put into it. If you remember, do you remember that where there was a lot of CGI?
Oh, that one.
To their opening ceremony?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was very much over the top, and everybody was kind of scratching their heads afterwards going, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd say it wasn't like that this time around. It was a lot more authentic. Say what you will about the Olympics, because there are people who kind of shy away from it and they don't really care, and that's fine. But I will say, when you see your team, your country enter that Olympic stadium, when you see your athletes, I don't know how you can't get caught up in that. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think, the Winter Olympics as my favorite Olympics. It's not the biggest of the two. The summer is, because there's more countries, more events, last longer, more days. But I guess it's because in the Winter Olympics, when there is an event going on, I expect to see a Canadian in it. That's not the case in the Summer Olympics. I can tune in and watch javelin, and I don't expect to see a Canadian in the javelin. We hone in on the Summer Olympics on the best ones in the sprinting, clearly in the swimming, in the rowing. But virtually everything in the Winter Olympics has got a Canadian somewhere that's got a good shot at a medal. And I think that's why there's fewer events, but we do well in them. Off already, what is it, ice dancing? We've done well this morning. The women's hockey team's got game 2 tonight. So The games are off and running, and there's plenty to watch for. And you did a good job this morning pointing out 5 things that we here in Canada should at least eyeball in the next 24 hours to get ready for a good kickoff to the games.
Yeah, definitely. Along with the opening ceremonies this morning, which was very exciting. And as we talked about, our 2 flag bearers, Charles Hamlin and Marie-Philippe Poulin, did a great job. Some other highlights from the overnight that you may want to pay attention to, yes, over the next 24 hours includes, you mentioned the skating, Canadian figure skating team. We're currently in 6th place out of 10. The U.S. is currently in the top spot, but that can change very, very quickly. Our rhythm dance team, Piper Gilles and Paul Poirier, are currently in 4th. So it's only a few points, and they could move up to the podium. In curling, Homan and Morris, they continue their mixed doubles round. In fact, they just won their 3rd straight one over China in the last 24 hours. So they've won 3 in a row. That puts them about 2nd place currently. Skiing's going to start over the weekend, so keep an eye out for that. And the host nation, China, actually their women's hockey team is looking to make headlines. And it sounds funny when you think China's got a hockey team, but they do. And so keep an eye on them over the next little while as well. I don't think they'll be in the gold medal round, but they could make their own headlines for sure. And it's stories like that I think really grab people's attention, because even this morning, as I was watching our team enter the stadium, it was shortly after that Albania came in. And Albania, how many athletes does Albania have in the Winter Olympics, Mark?
There you go. So I'm going to say a dozen. Did they have 12?
They had 1.
1, exactly.
1 athlete.
1.
And how old is that athlete?
That athlete is going to be I'm going to say they're going to be in the half pipe, and she's 18 years old.
I can't remember the event. I think it's skiing. He is 18.
18, yeah. 18,
the sole athlete for that entire country. Now, I realize it's not Canada, but it's things like that where now I'm going to be watching for him. I'm going to be pulling for him because he's only there on his own. You want to see him win. So you get caught up in it.
And you don't know how much Albania spends on its Olympic programs, but there's a guy, and he's going to be in the Olympics. And to go back to the Chinese women hockey team, to me, that's always been the legacy of the Canadian-U.S. rivalry because I know the Canadian women hockey team and the players would say that we want to get great so we can grow women's hockey around the world. Because the thought was, well, you're so dominant, why would anybody want to do it? But you think about this, no. We're going to show what can be done. We're going to inspire others to want to be great hockey teams. We're not doing this to just dominate and then hope nobody else gets good. We're doing it to grow. So when you suddenly hear China has a women's hockey team, hats off to Canada for making that happen. So as much as, no, we probably don't want to lose the gold medal to them, the time's going to come. Time's going to come when it's not going to be Canada and U.S. in the gold and silver medal game. And it may not be this year, but the time's going to come. But that's because of the greatness of the Canadian team years ago that allowed that to happen. So we're going to watch for all of those medal hopefuls. And the other beauty of the Olympics, too, is that every once in a while, you land on some new events. And I often wonder whether the host country introduces these simply because they're really good at them and gives them a chance to medal, or whether it isn't just time to introduce some of these new events. And what did you say? There are going to be 7 this year?
There's 7 new events this year. There's the men's and women's big air freestyle skiing. And I'm kind of surprised that's not an event already, but it's added this year. The mixed team snowboard cross, the mixed team aerials, mixed team short track relay. So again, that's speed skating. And I'm surprised that that wasn't already in there. The mixed team ski jumping, and then the women's monobob, which I just like the name of. But those are the new events this year. And the women's monobob is an individual competition for specifically for women, to kind of encourage more women to compete in a bobsled competition or event.
Right.
So that to me was interesting, because again, I'm surprised that this is a new event this year, that this wasn't already an event.
Canada does well in what I consider to be some of the scariest events of the Winter Olympics, like skeleton.
It's funny you mentioned the skeleton, because just this week, and this is kind of out in left field, and I apologize, but it is relevant. Ellen showed a clip from, I forget what Winter Olympics, but leading up to it, she sent Sherry Shepherd, talk show and comedian Sherry Shepherd, to try it. And the video of her trying the skeleton was hilarious and scary. Both hilarious. I was laughing so hard I had tears, but scary. And even she said at the end, she said, that is one of the scariest things I have ever done in my life.
I know.
She just bounced off the sides, and there's nothing on you. There's nothing protecting you. You have a helmet on and you just go.
That's it. The helmet. That's all you got.
Yeah,
and you're going
that's it.
in obscene speed down ice to try and win a medal.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I pull for us, but I think sometimes I watch through my fingers on that one. Some of the downhills, the speeds they get on the downhill skiing. Amazing stuff.
Well, and ski jumping. Look at the ski jump. Just this past weekend, the movie of Eddie the Eagle from the UK way back when, who competed, who had literally no training before months. Like, he trained months before the Olympics, got in. It was such a fluke. It was a very interesting story, but he didn't do the 90-meter jump until he was at the Olympics.
That's crazy.
And to watch that, I thought, my God, who chooses to do that, number one? And that, he could have killed himself. He could have easily, seriously injured himself doing this. And there he is doing it. It's incredible what these athletes will do.
And then the way the world embraced the Jamaican bobsled team. You know, there's just something about the Winter Olympics, I guess, that brings it out.
Yeah.
But what did the Canadian outfits look like in the opening ceremonies? Are they all red? It's
interesting that you bring that up. We looked, yes, they were all red, but they looked, these great big parka type coats. They're not very flattering, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
But they were bright red. They were very Canadian. They looked very warm. And I'm sure that they will be available and sell out everywhere. But we were head to toe red. So it'll be interesting. And it is interesting because, of course, the closing ceremonies will have a totally different outfit. And again, I think back to the year where we had they had them in denim. It was head to toe denim at the closing ceremonies, which was awful. So I'm hoping that it's not that.
Not that, no. So keep an eye on the women's hockey team. They play tonight when they take on a very tough Finland squad. And Charles Hamlin, when he gets on the speed skating, can become, if he wins medals, any medals, in the 3 events of which he is eligible, he will become the most decorated Canadian Olympian of all time.
Yeah, that's incredible. These stories that are coming out, it's awesome to watch.
It's the Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast with the Olympics kicking off. Enjoy that this weekend. You'll find us here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and linked off of our websites. Charity is going to be back in studio on Monday with our Monday Mystery Year, the song, the movie, and the news story. Which year did all of those occur? Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back at it on Monday with Mark and Charity Mornings here on 95.5 Hits FM.